So before David launches into his question, Evelyn, if you're watching, go to Facebook, look up Michigan Real Estate Investor Network. Join the group, because both David and I and almost 8,000 other,
it's incredible, isn't it?
Like you, right, are in that group. And we offer a lot of resources and a lot of insight, and you can post questions just like this one in the group, and David would probably respond to it. David and a number of other very wise people. So, Evelyn, come join us on Facebook. Now, to your question, Evelyn, what is the first thing that I should do when I am about to purchase a property at foreclosure sale? I don't know. What should she do? What's the first
Well,
thing?
I can't. The first thing, I mean, there's a lot of things that somebody should do before they purchase property at foreclosure sale. But, you know, what I would do, and I've written a book on foreclosure, Evelyn, so you're definitely welcome to check that out on our proven resource site. But with regards to foreclosures, the first thing, if you're going to do a bid on the property, the first thing is to make sure you know what you're bidding on. So it's kind of like going to the doctor. You know, you can have a property that you like, you've driven by it, it looks great, but have you inspected the title? Making sure that the property is marketable for purposes of the Marketable Title Act. You want to make sure that you can sell this property at a later time once you bid on it. What does that mean? Well, most people find out about the foreclosures and properties going to sale by looking in the legal news, and they'll see the bid price. This happens a lot. They see the bid price and they go, oh, the bid price is only $40,000 on this home worth $500,000. Okay. There's a problem right there that you need to look into, because you don't know if you're bidding on the first lien of the mortgage sale. Okay. And I get quite a few of these. Evelyn's not the first, where people will call and say, hey, I got a great deal on a foreclosure. I just bid, 75 grand and I got it. And then I'm like, okay, but the home's like 300,000 in this market. First thing I would want to, did you pull title? Like, I want to know, did you pull title? And more often than not, people find out that when they're bidding on such a low amount in this environment, in this economic climate, it's not a first lien, it's not a first mortgage, it's a subordinate lien, and that's why it has a lower value. So this is a little bit more complicated. I don't want to take too much time on this, but for all intents and purposes, think of this for a minute. Back in the Great Recession, this is only around 15 years ago, right? Is it 15 years ago? About 15 years ago, 13, 15 years ago. That same amount, that $75,000 on a home that may not have been worth $300,000 at that point, that bid price may have been reduced only because the banks were trying to get rid of property, okay? So they were trying to encourage a lot of bidding. That's number one. But in today's environment where the market is very hot and real estate's very good, why wouldn't the homeowner just sell their property and pay off their liens, right? Why would they let it go to foreclosure? Mm-hmm. So the first thing you need to know is, okay, well, what's going on with the title in this property? So the first thing you need to do, that was a roundabout way to get to the answer, is order title work. Find out what's going on with the marketability of this property. What are the liens on the property? Who's the first mortgage? Who's the possible second mortgage? Is there a line of credit? Is there a tax lien on the property? Because these items show up or can show up even after a tax sale. And it's very complicated. Pardon me, not a tax sale, just a regular foreclosure sale. These items can still show up after the property goes to sheriff's sale. So they could affect your ability to sell the property at a later date. So you do need to know what you're bidding on. Mm-hmm. And the first thing I would do is order title. I'm going to give you number 2. The second thing you need to do is to make sure that the home is insurable. Okay, because if you become the successful bidder, the first thing that you need to do is protect your asset. And that means you have to go and make sure you have the ability to get some type of insurance policy, a hazard insurance policy usually, on the property. Why? Because the people who own the property are still living there. And they could be damaging the property just to, get back at the bank or whatever lender. They could set the house on fire by accident. Whatever they do, you as a successful bidder may not even be protected. In fact, you're not protected, okay? Because you don't have your own insurance on the property. Really important. Those are the first two items. There's more, but there's like 5 items that you should do. But I actually have I feel like I'm giving a shameless plug. I actually have a blog post on the 5 things you need to do when you sell, when you purchase a property that's gone to sheriff's sale, okay? And you can see it on the blog. But the first thing is to get title work, okay?
Okay. So being in Evelyn's shoes not that long ago, I would say, Evelyn, the first thing that you should do is go read David's blog that he just referenced to give you those 5 things that you should do, and then maybe just go down the list. So to expand on Evelyn's question, you say pull title. Well, a brand new investor would say, how do I pull title? What you do is you would reach out to a title company,
right,
and you would have them pull title on this property. So I have never even pursued purchasing a property that's in foreclosure. I would assume that there are some instances where she would have time to do that, but aren't there other instances where like you're at the auction and you kind of have to get it on the spot or not? So I guess.
Well, right, you know that property, you know, in the legal news, or if you go down to the courthouse, they post the actual bidding instructions and the date that the property is going to sell. But you as an investor, you should do your due diligence, right? And if you just throw out money at a sheriff's sale and you really don't know what you're bidding on, don't bid.
Yeah.
Because I mean, most often they're actually this, you know, a lot of people get these great deals and they're not the first mortgage that went to sell.
Right.
They're the second. You can still do certain things after, if you get the property, even if you bid on a second or a third mortgage, but it makes things a little bit more difficult. Your equity position isn't there. You're still subordinate to earlier mortgages or priority mortgages. You know, with tax sales, not tax sales, pardon me, with property that has a lot of federal tax liens, you have to hope that the attorney who did the foreclosure bid and the actual foreclosure process to get the property to sell did their proper notices to the IRS. Because if they didn't, those liens stay on the property and they have priority over your new bid. So there's so many things, you know, that you have to be really careful about. I mean, there is a third item, which is you should call if the attorney who's handling the foreclosure is willing to give you the information. They'll give you a bid price, etc. But you know, they may tell you, yes, we did notify the IRS, you know, and their notice requirements. We did the work that's required of us, because and you should assume that they did do the work properly, because here's the thing. Nobody may bid on the property, nobody may bid on the property, and their client is a successful bidder. So if they didn't do the tax notices properly, their client actually is taking the property subject to the IRS liens. So there's all these different things that you have to be careful of. And that's why that question is like a loaded question, loaded. But the first thing is, first of all, in any real estate transaction, you need to do your due diligence. Blair, how many times have we talked about not rushing? Never feel rushed. If you're rushed or pushed, there's a reason for it, and it's usually not good.
Just speaking to, you know, the excitement and the emotion of being a new real estate investor, and just how, you know, how badly you want to do your first deal. And maybe it's not Evelyn's first deal, maybe it's the second or the third, but don't get caught up in the romance of it. Don't get caught up in the emotion of it. Just treat it very much like just a very dry, very bland business decision. You don't feel anything about it either way. It either makes sense or it doesn't, due to facts and due to numbers. And so that title search will definitely help you. And so I know David said, you know, earlier he gave kind of like a roundabout way to get to the answer, but that is a really good point. Evelyn and whomever else is watching, in today's market. So, you know, 15-ish years ago, when we had the foreclosure boom, as some people have coined it, that's not the same. It's not the same type of market today, or at least that's not what I'm observing, because of exactly what David said. There's just not that many. There's not that many people right now, or at least in Michigan, where I'm paying attention to, if they were in trouble and they couldn't afford their home anymore, they could just sell it. There's not that many properties where they would have a difficulty selling that property. Maybe they wouldn't make money, and maybe they might take a slight loss. But the point being is, you know, David said you have to pull title because you have to know what's going on. Like, why in the world would someone in today's market be going into foreclosure? Because there's probably a lot of skeletons in the closet. And so the second thing that David said you should do, Evelyn, is see if the property is even insurable. So you might call, you know, some general insurance companies, you know, the big name insurance companies. There are a few properties in the past where I have been turned down by those big name insurance companies. They tell me we can't possibly insure your property. For example, a home that we're working on right now that it had a fire. But if you go to those investor networking groups, like we just mentioned, we'll shamelessly plug again, Michigan Real Estate Investor Network, find us on Facebook. That's where I found my insurance agent. And I won't shamelessly plug them because you can just go in and find your own. But they do insure properties that the big name people tell you that they won't. So Evelyn, if you get turned down from, you know what I mean, like the franchise people, just keep pursuing it, because more than likely someone can offer you insurance. So don't feel like, well, I couldn't get insurance, but it's a good deal, I'm gonna go forward with it anyway. But and then just my own opinion, take it or leave it. Evelyn, if you're brand new, maybe the foreclosure market is not maybe that's not the first thing to jump into. Maybe it is, maybe you'll be wildly successful, I don't know, but maybe not a foreclosure for your very, very first deal. But that's just completely my opinion. Take it or leave it. But there's so many complications.
Lara, I'll tell you something real briefly, just to go along that lines with what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
There was somebody who came to my office several years ago, and they had gotten into the tax certificate bidding, right? And
Sure.
so what they did, they got into these tax sales or certificates where there was a redemption period on properties, and they were like, well, you know, I get, you know, 15 or 20, I guess it's like 15% interest rate or 12% interest rate, and that's why I'm buying these tax certificates. This is in Ohio, actually, an Ohio deal, and so I'm getting these certificates, and now what I need to do is I need to go after the homeowner, and, you know, I got to get my money back. And I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, if they don't redeem, you know, you own the property. Well, here was the thing. She actually never bid, or they never really bid at tax sale or in anything with the city. Instead, what they learned was that they had advanced the money for the taxes on behalf of the homeowner, and then turned around and said to the homeowner, hey, I just did this for you. I just paid your $11,000 in property taxes. Now you owe me money. And I looked at it and I said, no, you didn't do that right. What you were supposed to do was you were supposed to buy the rights to that lien from the municipality. You're paying the municipality, and then you can turn around and then you can say to the homeowner, hey, I have a lien on your property. I'm now the assignee of this tax certificate or this tax lien because I now am the rightful owner. Mm-hmm. So they thought that they read everything the right way when they were learning this on the internet. But what they really did is they just advanced monies for homeowners on their delinquent property taxes. They missed a step. And then they came to us and said, well, we want you to enforce these. And I'm like, they're not enforceable. You just gave all these people, and it wasn't just one person, one homeowner. It was close to a little over $100,000. Quite a few homeowners were happy with these people afterwards, right? They did not have any rights to this property. And that's what people do. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe that's an extreme case, but a lot of people who are newer to real estate investing, yes, that was the excitement that got her carried away, because she's like, oh my God, I can make 12% of my money. I just have to pay the taxes for them. No, you made a mistake. You needed to buy the tax note from the city or from the county.
How devastating.
It does happen.
Hmm.
Crazy stuff.
That is. All right. All right. Well,
Okay.
moral of this question is, Evelyn, come join us on Facebook.
That's a good one. Okay.
And we'll answer any and all questions that you have, because we love new investors.
Yes, yes.
We're very, very safe, warm, educational environment.
It's a great place to be. There's no doubt about it.
All right.
All right.